allow common law marriages that if you lived together and you held yourselves out as being married and you met a certain statutory period of time, 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, then you were married for state law purposes. There's an old revenue ruling that says if you're common law married in one state and then you move to another state that doesn't recognize common law marriages, you're still married for federal tax purposes. And so the service says, well, then to be consistent with that ruling, if you're validly married this weekend in Seattle or in California or in New York or in Canada, and you come back and you live in South Dakota, you're married for federal tax purposes. And so sure enough, the ruling contains that state of ceremony rule that says if you're validly married here, then you're married for all federal tax purposes. What's that going to mean for the South Dakota same-sex couple that was legally married in some other jurisdiction but is residing here? It means that for federal income tax purposes, they can file a joint return. Of course, they don't have to. They can, they are considered married for federal purposes. So now they don't get to choose whether to be married or single. They have to choose whether to be married or married filing separately. Okay? That's one of the things about marriage. Once you're married, you can't choose to be single again. You have to be either married filing jointly or married filing separately. That's what's going to happen for these couples going forward. There's no electing in to married filing jointly and say, well, if there would be a marriage penalty, then we'll still continue to file as unmarried people. You're married filing jointly because you are considered married for federal tax purposes. It means for estate planning purposes, the marital deduction is on the table. And where the marital deduction, remember how estate planning for same-sex couples used to be, for those that are actually going to be still subject to, if you have a South Dakota same-sex couple who hasn't been legally married somewhere else, estate planning for them continues to be the same thing. It's all about acquiring life insurance to be able to pay for estate taxes on the death of each spouse and using trust to be able to provide for the benefit. Now, you've got the marital deduction that is on the table for federal purposes if, again, they have married somewhere else and are simply residing here in South Dakota. So that's nice. For state, you don't have to worry about state income tax purposes, but imagine the people that live in a state with a state income tax. Look at my state of Georgia, for example. If there's a same-sex couple living in Georgia, first off, they'd probably be a lot happier somewhere else. But I've only been there for a year and a half, I'm telling you. But there's red states and then there's infrared. Holy cow! I can wear a pink tie here. I wear a pink tie in Georgia. Something wrong with you, boy? Start every class with the Pledge of Allegiance. Go for it. But okay. So if I've got a same-sex couple that I'm representing who's living very covertly in Georgia, they can file their federal joint return, but of course the state of Georgia income tax return starts line 1 by saying, what's your adjusted gross income on your federal return? And, that doesn't exactly translate well. So we're going to have to prepare 2 separate federal returns for them. The one that they'll really file, plus unmarried returns, because then that's going to become the basis of their Georgia state income tax returns, because for Georgia state income tax purposes, they're still not married. Right? Windsor is not requiring that all states recognize same-sex marriage. That case hasn't happened yet. That case may be the next domino that happens in this particular aspect of the civil rights movement, but it hasn't happened yet. So for now, you're going to have this cumbersome preparing 2 sets of returns to sort of make it work. Makes you kind of glad you're in a state where you don't have to worry about that kind of income tax hassle that's in play. It makes it pretty easy here in South Dakota. They're considered married, and they're good to go. Well, how about that? We reached the end of this particular handout, and it's exactly 10 o'clock, which is our scheduled break time. So thanks for laughing for just the precise amount of time after each joke. According to our agenda, we have a 15-minute break, so we'll reconvene at 10:15.
And the booklets have not arrived, so the State Farm members, the booklets aren't here yet. What are you doing here?
Hey Eric, how are you?
How's it going, guys?
Good to see you. Not me, huh? Good to see you. Yeah.
Go ahead and some good tax.